Hey, good morning. It's Mark here with another morning rant. It's 4 o'clock. You don't want to know what time I got up. I'm pretty sure you know. Anyway, let's get into the news real quick. Two things. Number one. Well, first, let me. I'll just go ahead and put the news out there. So, we all know the January 6th Commission is out there doing their thing as far as investigating, and the chair committee, Chairman Thompson, I want to see if they got his name on this letter. Benny Thompson, he's the chair committee for the select committee on January 6th. He sent a letter to the telecom people, Yahoo, Google, Facebook, whatever, that they need to preserve AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, whatever, that they need to preserve their electronic records for whatever investigation they may pop up for, they may have to subpoena, legally, they may have to subpoena those records because they know places like Yahoo, Facebook, whatever, they're not just going to give these things over willingly. You have to compel them. And it's not that these companies don't want to get to the truth, is that they have to protect their customers. So I'll do it, but I want a subpoena first so that they can go to their customers and say, look, I was compelled by law to turn over these documents. So everybody's going to want a subpoena. They're not just going to willy-nilly give them over, because if they do that, then customers won't be able to trust them when it comes to becoming a customer for them. So just say, hey, you know what? I can't mess with Yahoo. I can't mess with Google. I can't mess with AT&T or whoever, because they just give over my records. So the GOP decided in their infinite wisdom, or some members of the GOP decided in their infinite wisdom, to write the CEOs of various companies to let them know that if they do give over their legal documents, that they could be subject to whatever civil penalties or lawsuits or whatever, right? There's a problem with that. The names of the people that sent this stuff out was Andy Biggs, Jim Banks, of course, Matt Gaetz, Jody Heiss, of course, Scott Perry, of course, Lauren Boebert, Louis Gohmert, that goof, and Paul Gosar. These are the people that sent this letter to places like Google, whatever. Well, this letter that you're looking at right now is a letter to the Yahoo CEO, Marissa Mayer. And basically what it says is, Dear Miss Mayer, you are receiving this letter because news reports indicate that your company received a request to turn over clients' private and confidential data to Democrats in the House Representatives. Just, you can go read it for yourself. Just go Google it. You can read the whole thing for yourself. I have. As you are aware, your company has legal obligation to protect the data of the subscribers and customers, and we are confident that you will follow the law and do not disclose their private and confidential records without a legal order to do so without a subpoena. Section 222 of the Communications Act and the Electronic Communications Privacy Act both protect the privacy and confidentiality of these records and data, and they prohibit the unuseful disclosure of this information. If you fail to comply with these obligations, we will pursue all legal remedies. Please be advised that the undersigned do not consent to the release of confidential call records or data. Right? What's the problem with this? Good letter, expertly worded. Got the margins and everything right. Got the quotations and citations down. But there's a problem with this. Marissa Mayer is not the CEO of Yahoo. Not anymore. She was the CEO from 2012 to 2017. January 6th commission happened. Well, the January 6th attack on Congress happened in 2021. This lady was nowhere near. This lady was nowhere near Yahoo during the time that they're talking about. So why in the world would they send Marissa Mayer, former CEO of Yahoo, Former CEO of Yahoo, a letter. These people are nervous. They are scared. They are so scared they can't do a simple Google search to see who is the Yahoo CEO. You know what? Let's do that. Yahoo CEO. Wait, you know what? Because it's not. It's just popping up. Let's just go Yahoo. And let's go to. Let's just find out who is indeed the CEO of Yahoo. Right now, let's see. It was founded in 1994. Wow. Fine. CEO. Tumblr. They don't have it on here. Well, that's crazy. Well, hey, the CEO is not Marissa Mayer. You would think it'd be here. I'm on Wikipedia, people, for those who want to know. That's crazy. Well, they're not showing. This is crazy. Well, it's not hard to find out who was CEO, but I got a lot of dead space going on here, and they're not, for some reason I'm not getting it up here. And I just said you can do a simple Google search, and it's not popping up. This is crazy. See, yeah, every time I go and type current CEO, it goes back to Marissa Mayer because she's in the news right now. But she's not the CEO. So I don't know. Jerry Yang, CEOs of Yahoo. Jerry Yang, Marissa Mayer, Carl Bartz, Scott Thompson, Terry Semel, Ross Levinson. It could be. I'm looking at these people right here. I'm not sure if Jerry Yang is Jerry Yang the CEO right now. Did he take over from Marissa Mayer? He's a former CEO of Yahoo. So you know, like, again, what I'm doing is what they should have done. All they had to do, they could have called Yahoo and said, hey, they could have called Yahoo and said, who is the CEO of Yahoo? And it could be one of these people. It's not Jerry Yang. It's not Marissa Mayer. So why would they send a letter to Marissa Mayer? So that just proves to you that these people have no idea what they're doing. They have no idea what they're talking about. So that's out of the way. I spent most of my time trying to search someone that I don't really need to be searching. So let me get into another part of what I wanted to talk about. In 2019, Larry Elder, and you can go Google this goof, Larry Elder and Marissa Mayer, Larry Elder and Candace Owens did an interview on her Candace Owens podcast show where they talked about slavery and reparations. And you won't believe what came out of Larry Elder's mouth. Now, this guy is running for he's running for the governorship of California right now because they're trying to do a recall, and if there is indeed a recall, he wants to get in on the recall train. Listen to what he said about slavery.
that the UK was ahead of us. They were. Do you know that the slave owners were compensated? After they lost their quote-unquote property, the government compensated slave owners.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so when people talk about
Interesting.
reparations, do they really want to have that conversation? Because, like it or not, slavery was legal. And so their property, their legal property, was taken away from them after the Civil War. So you could make an argument that the people that are owed reparations, and not only just black people, but also the people whose quote property close quote was taken away after the end of the Civil War.
So what do you make of
And by the way, that's why there was no war in the UK.
right?
The slave owners got substantial amounts of money.
That's
And you
fascinating.
look at the amount of money adjusted for today's dollars, it was a great deal of money that the former slave owners got, which is one of the reasons they didn't fight a war.
I can't wait to look into this. I never knew that. The slave owners were given
That's why the great
reparations.
Eldersky's here.
Oh my God.
These fucking idiots. These fucking idiots. All right, they are defending. Larry Elder is defending slave reparations to the slave owners, and that it was legal. Slavery was legal. So because it was legal and these people lost their slaves due to whatever policy, that they should be compensated for having slaves because it was legal, because they owned property. Our ancestors were property. So the argument is, the black argument is, or the descendants of slave argument is, the money that we as descendants of slaves, our ancestors in America, we built this nation. Literally, physically, financially. We built this nation. It was on the backs of slaves, on the backs of free labor, that that this nation increased in wealth, in size, in power. There is hardly any way to really compensate for that. And what a lot of black folk are saying, a lot of black intellectuals, a lot of black scholars are saying, that the reason why the descendants are asking for reparations is because if you go through history, American history, world history, everyone was compensated for the loss of their slaves. Everyone except Americans. And in some cases they were. Every time something went wrong in this country, the people that was done wrong or done harm were compensated. As recently as World War II, I'm pretty sure there could be some more current ones, but as far as I can think of right now, World War II, when Asian Americans, Japanese Americans, were put in internment camps in California, the same governor, the Supreme Court Justice Earl Warren, who helped decide Brown v. the Board of Education, he was governor of California, and he put Japanese Americans in internment camps during World War II because they feared that the people that were from Japan or Japan descendants or Japanese immigrants could be hiding secrets or whatever. So they were put in internment camps, and some of their property was taken, and some of their finances were taken, and they were compensated for that. That's the most recent. There have been Native Americans, not all. There have been some Native American tribes that were compensated. Most everyone that's been done wrong has received compensation. These two goof jobs are sitting here saying that be careful about reparations, because not only do black folk get reparations, but the slave owners should get them too, because slaves were legal. That's what they're arguing. And she just seemed so amazed. Like, wow, I did not know that.
That's so amazing. I'm so interested in that.
By the way, the last time I was on CNN, one of the last times I was on CNN, I mentioned a poll that was done by CNN and Time magazine in 1997. And black teens and white teens were asked about racism. And not too surprisingly, most of them, both black teens and white teens, felt that racism was a major problem in America. But then blacks were asked, is racism a major problem, a minor problem, or no problem in your own daily life? 89%, Candace, of black teens said racism was a minor problem or no problem in my own daily
Of
life.
course.
In fact, more black teens and white teens said failure to take advantage of available opportunities is a bigger problem than racism.
So I can break that down. Of course, if you go ask people right now, if you go ask a black kid right now, is racism a problem in their everyday lives? If you go ask a white kid, is racism an issue in their everyday lives, they will probably say no, little to no. But kids are not looking at the larger scope of things. They're not looking at, okay, why are you in that neighborhood? Why are they in that neighborhood? Why is your school like this? If you took that black kid and sent them to a predominantly white school and say, hey, these people are receiving state funds and everything too, so why do their school look better than your school? Black teens are not looking. They have blinders on. They're looking at their world. They're not looking at the larger context of the greater society. They won't see the red lines. They won't see the red lines. And so they're advocating. These are, we've all heard the stories. As a matter of fact, I'm watching a Sinbad special right now. I've been watching it over and over and over because Sinbad's just goofy. But I'm watching an old Sinbad special, Afros and Bell Bottoms, where he talks about slavery. And him he said he could not be a field slave. And, because, them working in the fields or whatever. And he said that he would be the slave that would tell, master, they trying to run, So, and master tell him to go outside and get something. Ooh, I can't go out there, master. They make my people use my people. So it was considered, it's a joke, and it's funny the way he tells it. But there's a larger context to that. There are some black folk in the black community that will sell out the next man to please. We've all seen the stereotype. Go back to Django and Samuel L. Jackson's character. There are a lot of people in the black community that behave like that. And Candace Owens and Larry Elder are just two of them. She seems so excited that white people can get compensated for their legal slaves. She's clapping and said, I did not know that. I need to look that up. I could put that in my mental Rolodex. This is crazy that they're advocating for this. You should not. I'm watching something on HBO right now about President Lincoln. And of course, when I was young, he was one of my favorite presidents. And I would argue today that he's still one of my favorite presidents. But over time, I learned the actual truth into how Abraham Lincoln thought and how he felt about slaves in America. A lot of people, and this is what I put in my thesis. A lot of people in this country, they wanted the abolishment. They wanted to abolish slavery. They did not want slavery. But those same people that wanted to abolish slavery did not want to make freed slaves first-class citizens. They wanted these people to be free but gone. And Abraham Lincoln was one of them. He wanted us to be free and gone. He said it in speeches. He said it in statements. He's written it in private letters. He did not believe. Of course, we all know now that he said that if he can save the Union and free the slaves, he would. If he can save it and keep those in bondage, he would. If he can save some and free others, he would. His only obligation was to preserve preserve the Union. Excuse me. That's why he's one of the greatest presidents, because he fought and preserved the Union. He fought to protect and keep the Union together. And over time I learned that, yeah, he freed the slaves, but he didn't necessarily free the slaves. He freed the slaves in the rebel states. And he said that you can come back. If you come back into the Union, you can keep your slaves and we'll try to figure something else out. And he also knew, and it wasn't until long in the HBO special they talk about it. He had to be pushed toward an amendment. He had to be persuaded and convinced toward a legal amendment, because the Emancipation Proclamation was an executive order. So the next president that come through, they can rescind that order and put those people back in slavery. At the same time, if the war ends and those people come back into the Union, then those slaves will have to come back, because the Emancipation Proclamation said that if you come back into the Union, you can keep your slaves. If he does not get reelected and another man comes in, he can wipe out the Emancipation Proclamation. So he had to codify it in law. He had to make it an amendment. And he did it. Go and watch Lincoln, the movie Lincoln. I talked about this before, and go and read that book right there, that black one right there. I'm pointing at it. A Team of Rivals by Doris Kearns Goodman, because the movie Lincoln is based on her book. Go and watch that. If you don't want to read the book, go and watch the movie. The book is better than the movie. But it talks about how there's a great scene in the movie where he explains what he's going through in his thought process. He had to be cajoled and persuaded to go that route. And again, these two idiots are sitting there saying that, hey, if you compensate slaves, you have to compensate slave owners, because it was legal, remember? Not saying that these people should be punished for having people as slaves. Do you know how much wealth that free labor got for this country? And yeah, the North didn't have slaves for the most part. The South had all the slaves, and it was Democrats that ran slavery and Democrats that wanted slavery, but it was the North that benefited from it, because the North, well, South Carolina being one, Virginia being another, Boston, New York, a lot of these different ports, New Orleans, a lot of these different ports, they shipped cotton over to England for textiles and to make the way it worked. And I'm going through my praxis test to become a certified teacher, and I had to put that in there, but I'm going through it, and they had a triangle diagram in there, and raw material will be sent from the Americas and the Caribbean over to London. London and Great Britain and Europe, they would process the stuff and make cloth and linen and clothes, and they would ship it down to Africa, some of it to Africa, and they would ship it back to the States. And the people on the Ivory Coast and on the west coast of Africa, they would ship slaves. So slaves, raw material, textiles. That's the triangle. I'm gonna stop right here. Hey, today is Tuesday. I got a slight headache. I woke up with one. I'm gonna try to remain calm. I'm doing good, but today is Tuesday. Back at work. Today is the 7th. My last day on this job would be the 14th. So, and then I go into my teaching gig, and I'm nervous, and I have to study for this exam. So, right now I've already finished studying early American history, which I got that, and now I have to study world geography, world history, which is next, and then I got to study government and some other stuff. So I really got to get into it. So I'm gonna have to knuckle down and get into it. So I'm gonna leave it at that, people. Again, you guys have a great Tuesday, and I will see you on the next one. All right, y'all take care. I'm out.